feel tired now, having to push that all the way.
The trouble with that saves a lot, doesn't it?
You like that?
No, I read it last night. It's an old one.
Well, okay, I just sent something to see what was happening.
I got
Good morning, John. I got it here.
It's not like my images to you.
Yeah, all conditions are changing. I can hear George now. Good morning, George. It says 8 dB and Keith was at 9. Funny old conditions, eh, George?
Yeah, very funny, yeah. It's interesting this morning people got the pictures except Frank never got any.
Yeah, I know. I could hear Frank saying to you, didn't get any images, and you could barely hear him, and he was about 10 over 9 here. I think my work reflects the words I was saying the other day. It sort of goes one way and then the other, doesn't it?
Which I've never understood, John.
Well, the propagation's a bit on the longer side. I think that's what it's all about. Anyway, yeah, we'll never understand it, and even if we did, would you be any wiser? No.
I mean, you would have thought if you could hear it one way, it would come back, wouldn't it?
Well, yeah. Phasing plays a major part in all this data stuff, doesn't it? Doesn't take much to screw it up. I found George running a huge amounts of power, i.e. 400 watts in DRM. It just screws it up because it creates multi-pathing, and then that just messes the whole thing.
Yeah, well, I was experimenting yesterday, and there was nobody about except yourself and I think John from Seaford. I was experimenting and I reduced my power instead, and in the end I was putting 20 watts out. 20 watts RF, but it was only showing 10 on the meter because of digital, which is normally half. And I was getting 12 and 13 dB signal reports. Very strange.
Yeah, it's pretty good, isn't it? It works like that, but there you go. That's good. Anyway, Keith, can you hear George?
Yes, I can hear his tones, but I couldn't hold the QSO with him. He's very, very low, like you were, John.
How dare you suggest I'm very, very low? Okay, George, you copying Keith?
I haven't heard Keith for months. Good morning, Keith. I thought you'd given up amateur radio.
No, he's not copying you, George.
It's just
not
conditions
happening.
have been nothing. When I've been on, nobody's been on, etc., etc. Over.
I screwed that. Do it again, Keith.
Do it again. I say again. No, I haven't given up on the radio. It's just that when I've been on, nobody else has been on through conditions. Over.
Obviously, conditions between Basingstoke and Sunderland are not good, Keith. There we are. Anyway, the sun is shining here. In Basingstoke, the weather is?
Very nice here. 16 degrees, beautiful sunshine, John.
Lovely sunshine and 16 degrees. It's 18 here. Well, it's cloudy, bright, sunny periods. Not bad. Keith, what you got?
Oh, it's a grey sky, no sunshine, but it's mild. Over.
Mild grey skies. Okay. Oh, well. Yeah. Well, they're talking about thunderstorms here this afternoon. Hopefully not. Things to do in the garden, grass to cut and stuff like that. It seems to be getting close to my annual hedge trimming sort of time of year. It almost seems to be August time. Get out there and do it all. I think George knows what it's all about. You've seen the pictures, haven't you, George?
That's Roger. Yeah, you should see my hedges. I've got one at the back garden here. I'm trying to get the neighbour across the fence to organise cutting. It's grown 10 feet this year, John, and if it goes any higher, there'll be serious complaints.
Whoa, get in there with a chainsaw, George. That'll sort it out.
Well, I've told him if he doesn't cut it, I will cut it right down to the top of the fence.
Yeah, I would have done that anyway. Anything that I could reach above your fence hedge, I'd have it down. I think the problem is, George, if they're on the southern side of a hedge that's going tall, they don't give a damn. They'll leave you in shadow, and to hell with you. They just don't see the problem, have they?
Well, that's exactly what's happening. It's coming over the garden at the back, and the leaves keep falling off, and you get acid water coming when it rains, and we can't plant anything there because it just kills it all off, John.
Yeah. What are these, conifers?
No, it's a laurel bush.
Laurel? Really? Okay. That's a
Great
big one. Are you sure it's a laurel? Oh! Just got an email from Ness. There, George?
I am here.
Okay, sorry, are you really sure this is the laurel tree, bush thing?
Well, I'm not very good at agriculture and horticulture, John, but it's one with big green leaves on it.
Big green leaves. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, because there are various types of laurel, isn't there? Some are very... The classic laurel that we all think of is in the days of motor racing, like Sterling Moss and people, they used to win a laurel wreath, and they were small, green, pointy, spear-shaped type sort of leaves, but they're not like that, are they?
Yeah, but they're big leaves, John. They're like spearhead leaves, and they're pretty big ones. They're about 4 or 5 inches long, each one.
Yep. I know what you mean. I've got a hedge, some of the same stuff, very same stuff. I couldn't actually tell you the strain of it, but they will grow 3 feet in a year, won't they, Over?
Well, last year it was at a certain height, and you can see where the new growth has grown about another 7 to 8 feet above it, John.
Gee whiz, yeah. I cut mine every year, for sure. You've seen it. I've got a scaffold up and I go down it, but for sure the laurel grows faster than conifers, without doubt. There's more growth on that laurel I've got than the conifers by probably 50% more. Keith, you got any major hedgerows in your garden? Keith? Hello, Sunderland.
And of course the other thing, John, with this one is that because it's growing up there, it's getting thicker at the bottom. And about 5 years ago we put in a beautiful new fence across the back, and I didn't charge the people to ask them to share it. It's with concrete posts and lovely panelling. And of course what's happening is the lower half of the tree bushes are pushing the fence panels now and cracking them.
Good God. So they've planted it all very close to your boundary then, haven't they?
Sir Roger, it's very close. I mean, if they were pretty thick down on the bottom of the bush, I'd take the panels out and leave it. But they're not. They're just big, thick branches, and they start to get bushy when they go above the fence panel.
Well, I'd be inclined to lift the fence panels out and get in there with a wood saw and cut the fence back, or cut the hedge back. If it's pushing the hedge, they've got no right to do that, has it?
Well, no, because I've written them a letter. Said, look, if the panels break, then we're going to send you a bill, and if you don't cut it down, I'm going to make arrangements to get in a tree surgeon who will cut all this down, and he'll cut it down to my height, because it grows again too fast.
Yeah. Well, if you can't maintain the stuff, you shouldn't plant it, should you? That's the bottom line. I mean, I'm quite happy with mine. I maintain it twice a year, probably. Yeah. Usually spring and autumn. So, well, we're not in autumn yet. What happened to summer? I don't know. But yeah, twice a year is the usual trick with mine. And of course, with the laurel, because they grow so fast, it's quite easy to propagate the stuff. But you don't need any plants, do you? But I've grown about another 40 plants last year, Over.
Yeah, Roger. Well, they're on the seat. My back garden house faces west. Yeah, the back garden, back of the house faces east, and of course that's where these hedges are. And until the sun goes round to the south, we get absolutely no sun at all on the garden till about midday.
Yeah, and then of course that encourages the growth of moss and yeah, and all the problems that come with it. Yeah, nothing grows. Yeah, it's a problem. But there we are. Anyway, I'm sure you'll overcome it. Keith, Sunderland, are you there?
Mike 0 Kilo Lima Lima, yes.
Sorry, I called you twice and you didn't answer. Don't want to leave you out.
It's okay. I'm just choking, that's all. I was making a cup of tea over.
Okay. We're talking about hedgerows. Have you got any major hedgerows in your garden?
No, but the neighbours have.
Well, tell them to cut them down.
And why would that be?
Oh, I take it they're under control then.
Negative. She's an old widower. And I was talking to her about her the other day. And her excuse is, my gardener can't get to them.
Why not?
He hasn't got the equipment. He only cuts the grass and shears the hedges.
Well, tell her to get a gardener that's worth his salt.
In fact, she had a tree cut down some years ago. And do you know where they stuck the branches? In between the shrubs on the ground. They rammed them in, rather than put them on the van, they put them inside the shrubs.
Couldn't have been a very big tree then, could it?
That's what I'm saying, they didn't put it all on the van.
Yeah, oh well. Must be me as the only gardener that's got tools round here then.
She's got loads of brambles, and the sun shines on our garden first before hers, and all the brambles have come through the fence, and it's horrendous. Some of them as thick as your thumb, Robert.
Well, that's nice. Pick them and then cut the damn stuff back. I have the same problem here. My next door neighbour, they're not gardeners, so I wait till they go on holiday, then I go round there and cut them off at the base. But I do like blackberries. I was brought up on blackberry and apple pie.
I was brought up on the nipple.
Yeah, all right. Okay. I've no doubt George was brought up on blackberry and apple pie, because when we were kids, apples and blackberries were cooked and put in preserving jars, and that's what we had to eat through the winter. Blackberry and apple crumble. Oh dear, raspberry crumble. Oh, it was beautiful. Just like my mama used to make. George, what were you brought up on? Hey, John?
Disappeared on me, John.
Were you brought up on blackberry and apple pie?
Not blackberries, but apple pie, yes.
Yeah, my mum used to make blackberry and apple crumble. Absolutely, I can taste it right now. Absolutely amazing. But we had no choice. Everything had to be cooked and put in preserving jars. We didn't have fridges and freezers in them days.
Well, I know we used to go out in the autumn and collect all the brambles on the bushes and bring them home, and my mother used to make jam out of it, but I can't remember making a pie from that, but I know from the apple trees we had in the garden she used to make pies.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, we had an old property, and we used to keep all of the produce off the gardens, cooking apples, eating apples. I can remember as a kid, we used to have to go into the cottage and wrap apples up in newspapers individually, wrap the apples up, and then put them on egg crates or whatever, boxes, try and keep the vermin away. But apples, potatoes, pears, you name it, all manner of stuff. It was all kept in the old cottage. And then, of course, you have to go in there and get stuff out progressively. And apple and blackberry pie was one of my mum's favourites, yeah?
Yeah, Roger. Well, we had about 4 apple trees. One was a cooker and 3 eating apple trees. And my father used to take the apples off the trees. And I had a little wheelbarrow. And not very far from us was a little grocery shop run in the village, and I used to take the barrow load of apples round, and I'd get 2 or 3 shillings for a barrow load of apples.
very nice too. We've just seen something quite amazing. My green garden waste bin has actually been emptied this morning. It should have been emptied Wednesday morning. It took me 2 phone calls to local council, and they've actually come and emptied it this morning. They missed it. They walked straight past it, loud and proud, middle of the drive, house number on it, and they walked past it. Serves them right, eh?
Yeah, Roger, yeah. Well, when we go about once a week to when Betty's done a bit of the gardening and things here, we just take it round to our local tip and we tip it in there, John.
Well, yeah, I mean, I could have took it down a tip, but it's in the green bin, you know. I mean, I'd have to pick the green bin up and put it in the car, and then drive 4 miles, 5 miles to the tip, and then 5 miles back. Why should I have to do that? That would cost me a litre of diesel. So that's about £1.14, I think. £1.14 a litre. 10 miles to the litre. Yeah, it cost me a litre of fuel to get rid of it. Why should I?
Yeah. Yeah, well, our green bin is purely for recycling. We've got a black bin and a green bin, and the green bin is purely for recycling. But they do give you, if you want to, they give you these, it's a big, like a jumbo rhino bag or what they call it, jumbo bag. And if you want, you can put it in there and they'll come past and pick that up and empty it out.
Don't they do garden waste, you know, lawn cuttings and stuff?
Oh, this isn't garden waste one. This is purely for recycling of cans and bottles, not glass bottles, because we've got another thing for glass bottles. But as we don't consume an awful lot of wine and things like that, my neighbour does, so we put it in their box.
G4XGT, yeah. Do you know, George, it's been suggested that Huntingdonshire in Cambridgeshire is probably one of the best councils for recycling, because we've got 3 bins, one for garden waste, i.e. lawn trimmings and garden waste, etc. Another one for recyclable stuff, and another one, a grey bin for what will technically go into landfill, which is only emptied once a fortnight. There's very little goes in it. But the recycle bin takes pretty much everything, from paper, cardboard, glass, boxes, bubble wrap, you name it, anything pretty much. All goes in the recycle bin, glass, bottles, the lot, you know. And that all goes away, and it's sifted and sorted and recycled. They do a damn good job. So the thought of having to have a box for this and a box for that for recycling, we used to do it, but not anymore, over.
Roger. Well, ours we can't put bottles in our green bin. We can put all the recycling stuff. We've got certain plastics you can't put in there that won't recycle. Like these plastic milk bottles, don't put the tops in there because you can't recycle the milk bottle tops. You can recycle the milk bottle, but you can't recycle the tops, John, would you believe?
Yes, apparently so. Yeah, we have the same anomaly here that they won't take they don't want the tops. But you know, everything, George, it all goes in the green. It's green, not green. It's a grey. I think now grey. Yeah, it's a light grey recycle bin, and that's emptied every other week. Yeah, every other week the recycle. Think about this now. Anyway, it doesn't matter, but it's adequate to say the least. So we have 3 bins. Yeah, okay. And for whatever reason, they walked past my garden bin and left it to Wednesday morning, much to my annoyance. I mean, they said leave it out, and if it's not collected by the 1st of August, let us know. Well, that's all very well, George, but if you leave your refuse, whatever bins, outside your property, and they're there for days on end, it's telling everybody you're not there. And we all know what that's inviting, over.
Yeah, Roger, yeah. Well, down at Epsom, at my young son's house, they've got a little bin that you put your food stuff in, would you believe? You don't put your food stuff into the normal black bin in the bag. You put it in a separate bin that they take away, John.
Yeah, well, yeah. Most of it. Haven't you got an incinerator? A lot of our stuff, food waste, goes down the drain, over.
Yeah, it would have been nice if we could one of these things like the Americans have in the kitchen sink, and it mushes it all up and it disappears down the drain.
Yeah, that's what I've got. It's called an there are many makes of these things, but an incinerator. That's I think that's the make of mine anyway. You can buy them for about £100. A godsend, George. You just chuck everything down it, switch it on. Chicken bones, anything, it just grinds it up and it's gone, over.
Yeah, roger.
If you look at your kitchen sink, and I'll be surprised if it's not, if you look at the waste hole, it's a huge hole, and it's probably got a reducing fitting in it to put a standard 1.5 inch sink waste on it. But you can take that adapter out and put a waste disposal unit in it, over.
Yeah, I never thought of that, John. Never thought of that.
Well, they don't last forever. I've fitted quite a few here. I think we're probably on the 3rd or 4th since we've been here. So I would suggest every 10 years maybe you need to chuck it out, get another one. They'll either fail, seize up, or block up, or do something, and it encourages you to get a better one, etc. You can pay £200 or £300 for them, but you can get a basic economy unit for about 70 or 80 quid. Mind you, you've got to fit it then and wire it up. Maybe that's a different ball game, over.
Yeah, Roger, I must go. I must obey. I've been called by she who must be obeyed, John. So talk to you later. Take care, have a good day, and let's hope the sun shines.
Okay, nice to talk to you, mate. 73, and enjoy your day. G40H, 4XGT, 73. Keith, have I faded away, or are we still there? No, he's faded away. G4XGT, listening.
The mains in series, valve things, the U series. But the set works okay. It's got a lovely tuning dial on it. I've always wanted to transistorize it because it's not very sensitive. I actually made a new IF strip for it and extra IF stages and put them inside, so I got a much better sensitivity. But makes a nice noise. It's okay in medium wave, but it's good for shortwave set. Not much good for the amateur bands because it hasn't got a very big band spread. I've lost the box for that one. For that 1287. Why the mullards? Some of the valves they're all mullard, and some of them have got ECC83 on them, and some of them have got ECC83 or 12AX7. Some of them. Weird, isn't it? But there we go. That one goes back. Some of these valves they're still in their little cardboard boxes, but within the box they're inside a little tube wrapped up in paper. That was another disadvantage of valves. Very, very fragile, really. And we use valves. I'm surprised that you were able to use transistors. We couldn't afford transistors. First transistors I bought were red spots. I bought some red spots and one white spot. And I think the red spots cost 10 shillings, and the white spot cost £1. And that was an awful lot of pocket money. And we cycled all the way to Worcester to buy those. And then I think we managed to buy some surplus computer boards, and they were full of OC45s, and they got used for all sorts of things. So there we go. All germanium transistors. By the way, I've still got a few of those, and they still work. I was repairing the odd transistor radio recently for fun. So there we go. So you've got to build a valve preamp. We've been talking there, Frank. M0SPZ MW0GYV.
Yeah, Roger. Well, the reason I could afford transistors was generous motors had cupboards full of them. Delco Electronics, of course, made some power transistors as well, which we had plenty of, and so the cupboard was never empty, but and we were, I was going to say encouraged. That's not quite the right word. We were. If the apprentices were making transistor amplifiers and things, there was a blind eye turned in terms of where did you get the components from. I think it was almost expected that we would use the facilities of Generous Motors to get these things. I remember plug doctor transformers. They were in short supply. They were very, very useful. 240 volt transformers that gave 15 output, and just what you need for a transistor amplifier. Okay, 125 kilowatts, Frank. Yeah, you used to play with the big boys, didn't you? You see, anything more than a few watts, and it would be. Although the shaker system, which I've spoke about before, had some very, very big valves in, they would have looked nice on my shelves. Okay, all the best to both of you, and look, all the best to everybody on the web, by the way. Too many to mention, I think, this morning, but have a very good day, everybody, and hopefully we'll all be chatting again tomorrow. So G0GSR with MW0GYV. This is Mike 0 Sierra Bravo Zulu, off and clear after your finals. Bye-bye.
Yeah, okay, G0GSR. Yeah, the home office jobs we used to carve those at work, and like Delco, it wasn't encouraged, but nothing was done to stop people doing home office jobs at work. In fact, we had a set of project resistors and capacitors which were just for people to do such things. They were not spares as such, they were just for projects, so it was almost encouraged. But yes, remember all those valves, Peter. Remember now, the L was the tetrode, wasn't it? And the F was the pentode, and the C was the triode. And I remember having loads and loads of different valves in stock at work. The whole site was running on valves when I arrived at my first transmitter site. I don't think there were any transistors at all in the program chain at all. So, but it was the heaters that's the problem, the inefficiency of the heaters. So some of these big valves, the heater requirements were quite incredible. That 125 kilowatt valve I was mentioning, it actually had two heaters in it. It had two separate filaments inside it. I think they were 12.6 volts at 150 amps, something like that. So that was twice, just to keep the damn thing lit before you did anything, before you got any power out. But you remember the red and the white spot transistors, Peter? The first one I bought was, I think it was 5 shillings or 5 and 11. And bought that. That was a red spot transistor. I bought that in Manchester for something. I don't remember what I did with it, but I remember that I was very reluctant to cut the legs short on it in case I wanted to use it with something else afterwards. Whatever happened to it, I don't remember. Anyway, thanks for the contact. I'm going to get some coffee now and pizza toast maybe. Enjoy the weekend. I think we're in for some bad weather here at the moment, even though it's dry just at this minute. The mist is coming slowly down the hills towards us. MW0GYV in the group, G0GSR.
Yeah, we're due for some bad weather this afternoon as well. So, well, lots of rain. So there we go. And I thought you had to keep the legs long so you didn't overheat the transistor. I fried a couple with the soldering iron, and I had I can't remember the make of it, but I bought a little kit, and one of the kits was a wire stripper, which I've only just got rid of. That's it, bib or something like that. But the other part was a little aluminium, like a pair of tweezers, but it's aluminium, and it's a heat sink, and you clipped it onto the transistor lead, so you had to keep the lead fairly long in order to clip this thing on, so you could solder it into the circuit board. But yeah, you sound like you got them fairly cheap there, Frank, and good fun. The first thing I tried to build was a regenerative or a super regenerative. I think it's just a regenerative radio, practical wireless, and it may have been called a TIL-8 or something like that, because it was reckoned that if you made this thing, it was sensitive enough to pick up Radio Luxembourg. and indeed it was. We could pick up Radio Luxembourg from about 8:30 in the evening. And I never built mine into a cabinet, but my friend, he made a proper little box for it, a little wooden box. And it was only about, I don't know, 2 or 3, I think it was 1 white spot and 2 audio amplifiers, 2 red spots, and may have been 3. It was only headphone or earpiece output, and I can remember Chris made one quite successfully, and mine worked, but not as good as his. And well, we had to make our own ferrite rod aerials because you had to have the feedback coil as well. So why aren't you making your own choke, Frank? G0 GSR MW0GYV.
What, a 20 Henry choke, Peter? I don't think I've got enough wire to own that. No, I think I need to get a 20 Henry choke, RF choke maybe, but not such a thing as that. It's quite a beast. I don't really need to use it, but I think I will if I can get one. But I think I may have actually built that project you mentioned, Peter. That's a practical wireless TRF radio, but unfortunately I never could get mine to work. I can't remember how old I was at the time, but I knew absolutely nothing, and I don't think I ever got that to work. But anyway, we can reminisce, can't we? In fact, I remember being quite frustrated for a long time, because it was quite a while before I actually got a project to really work. And I was making PCBs and things, and obviously making silly mistakes and bad soldering and what have you, but I was only at school, so what do you expect? Anyway, cheers for now to both of you, and hope to see you on tomorrow if you're both around from G0 GFR.
Yeah, cheers for that. I couldn't get transistors to oscillate. I couldn't get them to oscillate with RF, so I couldn't get the gain there. But valves were easy, they would always oscillate, so and I had loads of EF50s. I think F is for like high frequency audio frequency amplifiers or valves, and L is for the low frequency amplifiers. I think that's what it stands for, but I'll be proven wrong, no doubt. Cheers for now, hope to speak to you tomorrow. MW0GYV is clear, 73.
Yeah, okay, Peter. The letter, it denotes the number of electrodes in the valve. C was for 3 with the triode. L, I think, was the tetrode, and F was the pentode. So you could have an ECF80, which was the triode pentode, I think, Peter, over.
Yeah, I can remember that. I had the DCC90 with a push-pull RF transmitter for 27 megahertz for my model airplanes. That was a DCC90. I was looking to make one some time afterwards, and I didn't realise the difference between triodes and diodes, and I got a double diode. It was actually a rectifier, but there we go. Strange old days. I was about 12.
Yeah, I just remembered when you mentioned the D there, the first letter is the heater characteristics, isn't it? The D were 1.5 volt battery valve. The P series were 300 milliamp heater current, and the U series were 100 milliamp heater current, so they were much higher voltage to be running series. But the D ones were the battery valves, Peter, over.
That's right, and I had a Vidor and an Everready, like a attache case radio. Did you ever have one of those?
I did, Peter, yes, and it worked perfectly. The DAF valve and DL91 in the output stage, I think, and it had a warning device. If you shut the lid, which had the frame aerial in it, with the thing switched on, it made a horrible kind of farting noise, Peter, over.
I can remember that. My dad bought me a set of batteries for it. I think I got it from a rich aunt or something, and I can see it now. And it smelled horrible because of the batteries had all decayed inside it. So you had that very expensive, I think it was 90 volts as well as the 1.5 volt battery.
It was a 90 volt battery and a 1.5 volt battery. And it was working perfectly, and the one I had sounded truly wonderful, Peter, over.
Yeah, so I mean, they were very good, really. Supposed to be a portable, weighed a ton, of course, with the batteries in it, and the batteries didn't last very long, and they were jolly expensive. I couldn't afford it on my pocket money.
No, I don't remember where the batteries came from, but I wouldn't have been able to. But at least I don't remember the olden days. My mum used to tell me about taking their accumulator to the hardware shop to be recharged, Peter, over.
Goodness me. I don't think my grandparents certainly didn't have that sort of situation. I don't remember them having a radio until, I think they had one off my dad, which he picked up at a jumble sale, I think, and got that was working. Lots of stuff around in those days, of course, back in the 50s, but my grandparents really came from very humble backgrounds, but they were in service. So it may have been that this radio came from one of the people they worked for, because that's the sort of people that had these things, weren't they? The well-to-do.
I suppose so. I would imagine in real terms it would have been a very expensive item in those days. I had no idea what happened to the one I had. It may have even been thrown away, which is a shame if it did, but I've just got no recollection what might have happened to it. But they still exist in museums, though, Peter, over.
Yeah, I've seen them online, and I've seen them on the Antiques Roadshow going for silly prices. But there we go. So I have bought a couple of very early radios, transistorized ones, and I've got a Roberts radio. Well, I bought a Roberts radio from my daughter-in-law and got that working because she wanted that, and that one needed new transistors, so I put in the OC40. In fact, I'm afraid I put OC45s throughout in that one, and that works very nicely. It just burst into life as soon as I got the transistors in, and I got myself a Hacker radio, and the only thing wrong with it eventually was the demodulation diode. That was all it was. It was amazing. So that's got an OA81 in it now.
Yeah, good old-fashioned germanium stuff. In fact, the analog TV transmitters that were just switched off not too long ago, when we went for digital switchover, one of the particular type was completely germanium transistors. The control circuits were completely germanium still. And there were things like OC36s and OC29s in it. And they just seemed to go on forever. I know some of the other smaller ones did fail, didn't they, with there was a common fault inside them, wasn't there, with the OC170s and 171s, was it something went short circuit to the case, and the trick was to cut off the screen wire, and quite often if you did that, the thing carried on working again, Peter, over.
Absolutely correct. And there's another thing, I think with germanium diodes, some diffusion can happen, and they can lose their performance that way. But the ones in mine are okay. Yeah, I've done the trick with the four-leaded transistors myself, so I've got some that have failed. I've got an OC35, if that's any good to you.
Well, apart from putting it in a glass cabinet and looking at it, Peter, the ones that we had, it was quite funny because if they used to drive contact coils, and quite often they would go faulty, and before putting a new one in out of the spares box, I would always test it, just a quick test on the ohmmeter, and being used to silicon transistors, these germanium transistors would always test as faulty, and of course they were not faulty, they were just germanium, and of course you put it in, it would work perfectly over.
Yeah, I think I've been down that line as well. These OC35s came, well, I know I had quite a few of them, and they came from an amplifier. I'm trying to remember the name of the brand. I bought it as a mono amplifier, about 15 watts output and push-pull, and I got it from an advert in Practical Wireless, or it may have been Practical Electronics, and it was one of these, I think it was RSC. Do you remember RSC?
I do. Do you remember the Sinclair Z12 amplifier? I think that used a pair of OC35 or OC36s, Peter, over.
I do. And didn't they come already assembled?
Yes, it was a working unit, and I think they were rated as a 12-watt amp, but whether they would actually do that, I don't know.
No, me either, but I think they were making quite a few modules available from Sinclair, and I bought a calculator. It cost about 90 quid. One of the very first calculators I ever bought. But it was bought for work. I couldn't afford 90 quid. I mean, it only did very basic stuff, and it had an LED display, but big buttons on it as well. But it worked for quite a long time, and it was useful to us in the lab. We used it for quite a lot of quite important work, really.
Well, I remember the Sinclair executive calculator, and I thought it was rather strange that they were being sold in jeweller shops, Peter, over.
I can remember that, but I didn't realise they were sold in jeweller shops.
Yes, I remember looking at them in the jeweler shops in Manchester, thinking, they're next to the Rolex watch.
Wow. Mind you, that was exotic in those days.
Absolutely. And do you remember that horrible Sinclair scientific calculator with the reverse Polish notation?
I do. I can do reverse Polish notation because we had the computer in Joseph Lucas Group Research Centre was a Hewlett-Packard, whatever it was, computer, and that used, I had to learn Fortran and reverse Polish notation. Not that difficult though, is it?
Oh my God. I remember somebody brought one into work and sat around the coffee table demonstrating this thing. I think they actually used to sell them as a kid, didn't they, Peter?
I think you're right. Yes, I think you could buy either or.
Yeah, but I thought it was most weird and never would want to use reverse Polish, I'm afraid. But I always remember the LED calculators in the classes when we were at training school. In the middle of an exam or something, somebody would throw an expletive in the air as their battery went flat.
Well, I've just picked up my pen. I used to take 2 or 3 pencils and all well sharpened and a spare sharpener. But I have actually finished, quite an important exam in pencil because my pen ran out halfway through the exam. It was a fountain pen. I used to use a fountain pen. And by the way, before we bought this Sinclair calculator, we used slide rules. And Edwina, funny enough, asked me, do I still have my slide rule? Because she bought me one as a present when we first got married. And it was one of these folded slide rules. So it was, I don't know what the length was. What's the length? About 15 inches long. But it was it had an extra scale, so it was effectively 30 inches long. I've also got one of these tubular slide rules with which is really, really long. But I think I rescued that from work. And I can still use the damn thing, but it's much more accurate to use a calculator.
I don't think I could use one nowadays, to be honest. I remember I have used one just to take it into lessons and use it quite a bit, but I don't think I could use one anymore. I just totally forgotten. Anyway, it's nice to reminisce, isn't it, Peter? But I'm going to go and get some coffee now and see what the wife's doing downstairs. I think she's got some plans to go out, but maybe with or without me, I'm not sure yet. MW0GYV G0GFR.
Yeah, enjoy your coffee, and I think we're going to look for some more beetroot to make some more chocolate and beetroot cake. That's a nice recipe from Jamie Oliver. So maybe that's a project for you instead of all this hard wiring.
I don't really fancy beetroot, to be honest, Peter. What's put me off is the vinegar. I don't like anything that's pickled, and so pickled beetroot is a complete no-no. But of course, you don't have to pickle it, do you?
No, actually, you're not supposed to use cooked beetroot in the recipe. You use raw beetroot, which you grate up, and then you mix it in with chocolate, dark chocolate, and there's no fat in it, and there's no flour in it, but you've got ground almonds is the other main constituent, and it makes the most delicious chocolate cake. And my grandchildren ate it, and including the very finicky one, and they called it chocolate and marshmallow cake. How about that?
Well, it actually sounds nice. I rather like the ground almond. I imagine it'd be pretty heavy, though, won't it? A bit like chocolate brownie.
Oh, it's heavy, all right. Have a look on the Jamie Oliver chocolate and beetroot cake. It's really very, very good. Highly recommended. We've had 3 so far.
Right, making a note. Note to self. Look at that later. Okay, Peter, cheers for now, and I'll see you on tomorrow if you're around G0GFR.
Bye-bye, Frank.
Yeah, cheers to all the web guys as well. Hope you have a good weekend. G0GFR.
Yeah, bye to the web people.
Sounds like a race of mutants, doesn't it? The web people.
That's me with 10 watts. Can you still hear me?
You disappeared, Peter.
Well, that's amazing. I just turned the amplifier. I've turned it back up again now. I've just turned the power up. That's amazing. I've not using the web at all, and Dave actually faded right out at the end, and you've been very, very strong all the while, so it's been a nice chat. Anyway, go and have a coffee, and I'll speak to you another time. MW0GYV. Bye-bye.
Yeah, cheers, Peter. I just about got you direct, but extremely weak. Cheers for now, G0GFR.
is my main problem. And well, 6 Meters is one of these bands that is great when it's on, but it doesn't last very long. So unless you have fantastic antenna systems, which I don't have, of course, so you just have to be around for the exciting bits like sporadicy and auroral activity and that kind of thing. It's very sort of hit and miss. Now, what else? Well, the weeds and things are growing fast in the garden, and so is the lawn. I got my lawn cut by a professional 2 weeks ago because of my sore back, but I'm glad to say that things are improving there now, and my back is... Hello to everybody.
Hello, everybody.
Right. Okay, that's. I'll pass it back. That's. Thanks for running the net, Derek. And it's a shame about the weather with the Kingston Hobbies Fair, but I think that was a good choice because the forecast for this afternoon is a bit grim. We're not thinking about going out with the grandchildren, so we might have a day in the dry. Okay, back to you, Derek. G3NJ in the Torbay net from G0DDF.
Yeah, very fine, Dave. G0DDF, and morning to you, Danny. Nice to hear you, boy, and glad you enjoyed the trip with Grandad last.
But you just have to do the best in the circumstances. Back to you, Alistair. GM4VJY in the group from GI4WVN.
GI4WVN, GM4VJY, returning west 5758. And ik heb langs de mountain gezien, misschien standaard. Maar wie weet, als er veel te langs vernieuwd is of schoon gemaakt is, moeten we een externe net. Het wäre gut, wenn die alle eingebaut wären.
Gotta get on that. Okay, then Ali's not with you at the moment. We'll pass on my regard for when she comes into the chat, or you go into the chat, alright? And nice to hear you this morning. Yeah, not a very nice day at all, is it? It's a pity for the exhibition at the King's Station. So it might clear a bit, as long as you don't lash it down. Of course, I think you get dizzy wet with this type of sort of fixed resort. You do if it's chucking it down, but still, this might be clear a little bit. It was quite dry the first off this morning, but when I looked at the window just now, which was bright just now, but now the patio is really wet, so